Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Wish you could slide into my mind and make me mine. Push play rewind. Let's whip outside, and so am I.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dylan B. Dickerson White, Mr. Trans USA 2022, and tonight we are here doing our, at this point, post-sashing interview with our Mr. Trans West Virginia 2023, Averi A. Cochran. I'm going to have him kind of introduce himself a little bit more, tell us some more about himself that you may not have read on his bio before we get into our conversation. So, Averi, just kind of say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Averi.
So yeah, like I said, just tell everybody a little bit more about yourself that maybe they didn't read or maybe they wouldn't know, just kind of looking through your Facebook or anything.
Okay, so I am getting ready to graduate for college on my second degree. I've received honors, and I was the founder of the GSA for our school. I was in Paradigm Pioneers, and I decided to become a minister.
So all at the same time, like, so is the degree related to the ministerial thing, or?
Actually, no, it's not. The first degree was addiction counseling, and when my my past fiance passed away, she didn't get her criminal justice degree, so I went back to school to get it for her in her name.
That's actually really, really cool and really way to nice honor that memory. And also looking at those two degrees together, that's really valuable to have.
Yes, they go hand in hand,
Yeah.
so it's going to work.
Yeah. So if you're getting ready to graduate, have you been looking different kinds of jobs in the area?
Right now, I am on medical leave, so I haven't really been looking for anything, but I'm thinking that I want to kind of work in a halfway house.
Definitely respect that, and having like also a trans presence in like that's a super important thing too. Just knowing the rates of addiction and substance abuse in the community.
Yes, definitely. I did work in a halfway house for my clinicals on my first degree, and there were a few people that were of the LGBT that needed someone to talk to, and when I stepped in, they were able to talk to me about it.
That's just like such a huge important part of having us like in healthcare and just in social services, like getting people who would normally fall through the cracks and everything, and especially in West Virginia.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like Hunger Games over here.
Yeah, Jackson is from West Virginia, so I know all about some of the areas down there.
Oh, yeah.
But that's great. Like you're graduating in May, like.
Yes, May 20th.
Oh, so very soon, because it's currently May. Most people are probably not going to know what month it is, but it is actually May now.
Yes.
Whenever this gets finally put together. But yeah, congratulations on that. And like,
Thank you.
yeah. So kind of like, we have all these different topics we have to get to and like all the cool things. And I just wanted to touch on that for a minute, but let's start back at the beginning. So I'm sure everybody knows by now there's a little list of questions that we gave everybody to kind of prepare. And so the very obvious first one is, other than me like kind of hounding different people about it, and specifically you maybe, what made you interested in Trans USA?
Well, I was told about the Trans USA and I kind of looked into it, and I noticed that it wasn't like a drag pageant. It was a little different, and that there was possibilities for like a brotherhood, sisterhood, and all of us getting together, learning from other people, different states, and just being able to learn more and expand our knowledgement.
That's that kind of got the right idea. This is really just a big like kind of convention retreat, getting people together, and somebody walks away, at the end, but with a medallion. But that actual experience, especially right now, is going to be pretty helpful for the community. So I think jumping from that, like the not a drag pageant, and different types of representation. You're specifically representing West Virginia. Can you kind of tell folks a little bit about what's going on for the trans community or generally queer community in West Virginia right now?
Within the trans community, we're kind of excluded from the rest. Uh, they don't really acknowledge us or anything of that part. And then when it comes to drag kings, I'm not sure if that has to do with like they're confused on drag kings having to be lesbians, but some of us are trans men, and they don't really book us or anything. And when we try to talk about it, they kind of just like shrug it off. So it's a little difficult.
Yeah, we had talked about this a little bit even before we started recording. You know, somehow it's an issue that comes up kind of across the board. And you know, while we aren't specifically a drag pageant, a lot of us do perform, and a lot of us, you know, especially right now, relying on that, you know, extra income or sole income for some of us. So, what would you say to folks who maybe are starting up a show somewhere, and are kind of leery about booking kings? What would you do to like convince them?
I would just tell them to look at the profiles, ask for videos, look at their Facebook, ask them what the drag people want or what they think that they can do to offer for the venue.
Yeah, and I think that's like a really point. Like, if you can show them like what we have to offer, you know, that's totally that's the way in the door. And I think, you know,
And for the
that's
drag performers, like reach out, go to the venues, tip, talk to the owners, show up for their events, share their events, just actually be there, mingle. And when you have open stage or tip outs, then go do those. Like you don't necessarily need to get paid. You can get your tips with that, but still show out and show your face.
yeah, because a lot of times that's the gateway, you know, into a paid booking, for some people.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially around here in West Virginia. If you want to get out there, then you need to be doing the open stages, talking to people, connecting, using resources from everywhere.
And so, like, what places do open stages in your area?
Stonewall does open stage once a month, from my acknowledgement. I think it's the third Friday of every month.
Okay. So,
Um, Other than that, I'm not sure who does open stage. I do know that there is a new show called East End Ghouls, and it's actually pretty cool. I've been there a few times. I love her. Red Scare is the one that does that,
okay.
and it's kind of like an alternative burlesque type, but you can do any type of drag. And they are getting ready to do their open stage actually on May 20th, if this airs before May 20th.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll try to. I mean, we try my best. Because there's quite a few of these, but no, it's good. We can get that information out there for some people who might want to be trying that. And you know, this is a really good way to shift to the next kind of topic. So, being that this Trans USA is not a drag pageant, um, and you know you're a performer yourself, like what's going to be, how are you going to separate yourself from your drag persona during the competition?
That is going to be a little hard because me personally, I get really shy if I don't know you, and public speaking for me does not work whatsoever. um,
I think
but
you're doing a
with
good job.
my drag persona, it's a whole lot easier for me just to be out there and use the resources that I've learned. I've been performing since I was able to talk and walk. I've been in plays and stuff like that, but I put my mindset of this is my persona, not who I am. So it's going to be a little difficult for me.
No, you're facing the same thing that I faced, honestly. And I know you've read the letter and everything, the opening part that I put in there. It's like you know, I can't hide behind that anymore. And it was a little bit of a mental like breakdown I had
Yeah,
about, you know, am I, you know, enough of a person to be able to run for this? Like, am I good enough as, you know, outside of all that craziness? And you
yeah.
know what I found was, I guess, apparently, but no, I think you'll find the same thing coming up, especially as leading up to this. And I
I
will
think it
say,
might work a little bit because my drag persona and myself are kind of the same. It's
yeah,
just my drag persona is a little more bang than I am.
right. And it's, you know, you get into that mindset where the extra, you know, makeup or the extra, you know, things you wear, like give you that confidence, but realizing that that stuff, the confidence is always there, you know,
Yeah,
you're just putting extra stuff on.
yep.
Yeah. So
It's
no,
definitely a different thing when you put makeup on. It's confidence out the roof.
oh yeah. But no, it'll be one of those. Oh my God, Gerardo is messaging me. Sorry, but it's gonna come, and you'll get there and realize like all the preparation and all the mental worries are gonna be sort of out the door once you kind of get to see everybody and hang out. That's kind of said. Is there any one particular category you're most nervous about? I think I already know the answer at this point, but
Speaking, anything that has to do with speaking.
like it kind of led into that one. But so let's go on the flip side. What's the one you're most excited? There we go.
I believe I lost you. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the talent portion of that.
Well, there is no talent category.
Well, not the talent, but the representing West Virginia.
Right, the state costume, which is kind of like you get to pick the music. You sort of get to set it up like just like a talent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much a talent for me. And that's kind of how I'm like portraying it. That way, it's easier for me since I am a drag performer. So.
Yeah, and we're obviously not going to make you tell everybody what you're doing because we want to keep it a surprise. But I think most people are on the same boat that they're really excited about getting to showcase their state specifically and put their ideas all together.
It's very exciting.
So I think that's something else that people may not know too about Trans USA is especially this year we do have like an outstanding advocate award that we're doing, and we really try to get people to partner up with the charity, kind of help raise funds both for themselves and the charity. And some people have picked one and some people have not, and they're just going to kind of generally just try to be visible. So have you picked one to tell everyone about, or?
I have not picked one. I am trying to advocate within the community and work on this pageant at the same time. So I figured that would be too much for me at this point. But when and if I go for Trans USA again, I plan on picking one.
It's good. And that's one of the things I wanted to highlight is some people did pick one, but some people are still doing the same work, just more broad work within the community. And especially I think with West Virginia, the ground up is really where you have to start. There's not a lot, like you said.
There's not a lot here. So you basically need to ground and keep on working up. And I think it would be a whole lot better for Advocate here right now. And then when I go for Trans USA again, pick an organization.
Yeah, I mean, should you not win the national, because we'll see, because it's going to be such a wild ride.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So that's another fun little thing. Let's we've talked about the competition and kind of like wild ride and crazy. So I'm going to ask a crazy question.
Okay.
Maybe not so crazy because you probably heard it before with all these other interviews. So we were talking about pet peeves, right? And I've asked other people in the competition, about little annoying pet peeves, but this one in particular, since you're also a performer, we're talking about dressing room pet peeves, things that like people do in a dressing room or their situation that you absolutely can't stand, without calling anybody out, without like throwing
TMI would be tucking and untucking
right in front of everyone.
Yes, that is kind of my pet peeve, is tucking and untucking in front of everybody.
No, and sometimes it's a very cramped space too. So
yes, so it gets pretty awkward.
Yeah, for me, I am so complete, and maybe that's just me. I'm so completely like okay in dressing rooms most of the time that I'm just there like throwing things around. And
I mean, don't get me wrong, I am the first person that's going to be up there just getting dressed and not caring. But for some reason, just tucking and untucking it irks me a little bit.
I gotcha. Ow. So how about outside of the dressing room, like in daily life, you're at home and somebody's like, clicking their nails too loud or something? Is there anything like that? Because I know you have a partner, and so anything that you do that irritates you?
Drinking, okay, not drinking after me, but if I have milk and then they drink after me, I can't drink the milk again.
Just milk, though.
Yeah, just milk.
No, I'm sorry. Like
it's just milk. There's something I don't know what it is.
It is totally fine. Like I've got the weirdest ones too. I can't deal with. It's one I keep saying is clipping nails, because the sound of nail clippers going, like for some reason, I feel like I'm gonna claw my eyes out.
I can feel. I can see that.
Yeah, I just don't like annoying sounds, and most sounds annoy me. That's the problem.
Yeah, a lot does to me too, but milk just sets me
Yeah,
over the top.
no, though that is completely understandable. So we went
And
from
then the out of like home life or something like that, like personal life, the other one would just be asking what my real name is
see, I
or
wouldn't consider that
transitioning.
a pet peeve. I'd consider that like an actual
Well,
like grievance. Like,
yeah, I'm just like, real name is Chris.
yeah, like, and we'll leave it at that. Yeah. Actually, that kind of brings me to a different topic on a more serious kind of note. People have a lot of like misconceptions too. One of them being that they can ask questions like that. But people have a lot of misconceptions about trans people, and especially with what's being publicized in the media right now. What would you say is one of those big misconceptions that people outside the community have?
I see a lot. I'm not really sure. Um, a lot of trans folks don't really open up because I'm not sure why they don't. On my part, I open up and I'm like, if you have a question, be respectful and ask. But if I tell you that you're overstepping, you need to understand that. And I get a lot of questions like, what's your real name? And then like bottom surgery, top surgery. And some of them go way too much into it. But
Yeah, those questions that you'd get, yeah, that are a little bit too invasive, and there's totally like ways to kind of address that. So let's say so if somebody asked you a question that you didn't feel comfortable answering as a trans person, like how would you respond to it, like in general?
I would tell them that I'm just not comfortable. I'm pretty blunt. So I'll just tell them that I'm not comfortable. And if they needed the information, then they might want to do some research on their own.
Gotcha. I mean, nice and short and sweet. Like some people,
Yeah,
like they
pretty
have
much.
to go through let's say, have some kind of like dialogue planned or things like that. But being completely honest and open with it, it's honestly like the easiest way
Yeah,
I've found. I'm gonna
that's
take
way.
a drink. Excuse me. On that kind of same token, like we're talking about, misconceptions and things going on with the community, and I think one of the things we all know that's happening right now is a lot of these gender affirming care bans in a lot
Yeah.
of states, and so a lot of parents of trans kids are really like going through it right now.
Oh,
Do
yes,
you
they
feel
are.
like if I asked you to kind of send a little bit of a message to them right now, the parents of trans kids, how what would you say to them?
I would just tell them to hold on and stick to doing what's best for your kid. Um, History repeats itself, and of course, we always come up on top. Like, we're growing as a community, and it might be hard for the trans individuals right now, but the rest of the LGBT, but it will get through.
Yeah, and I think that that is something that people, as much as we have to like fight and hold on right now, people have tried before. We will survive as a community,
We
and
will.
just finding the strength in each other. I think, and looking to us and you specifically, trans parents of trans kids and trans folks in West Virginia, like they have somebody to reach out to, and I think that that means a lot
Oh, yeah.
right now. Um, so on that idea of people to look up to, people to reach out to, we've been throwing that phrase around a lot the last year, trans excellence, and it means something different for everybody. So I was going to ask you what it meant for you personally.
Mine is pretty simple. It's just uh, be who you are and work on yourself to evolve. You're always going to be changing, but just stay true to yourself and do research, look for better, learn. When people say something, take it under consideration, but don't necessarily change it if you don't believe you need to.
I actually like the way you put that. Like, there's no like one static definition, and we're always constantly changing. So, the idea is to keep growing and keep evolving, and that's what defines it, rather than anything that's like specific to this moment. And I think that's actually a really cool way to put that.
Yes, because evolving. I started out as a assigned female at birth that liked women, now that I've transitioned, um, I just like women. Now I'm a trans man. And then a few years later, I ended up evolving and found out that I'm non binary.
Yeah, I just love the idea too, that non-binary just really being this all-encompassing way of describing just a different way of being, and because I kind of align myself a little bit more with that. But a lot of people might say that I'm actually just gonna. How would you respond to this statement? Well, you don't look non-binary.
How are you going to define somebody's non binary?
Yeah, and that's like it's a great way to introduce the topic of educating people on what that means. And I think
Because before I transitioned, I forced myself to try to look the part as my parents wanted me to do. So I forced myself to like that stuff. When I came out transgender and went through that, I was like, okay, well, I have to be a man. I have to do these things. And then the further I got into it, I was like, I'm doing what I need to do. I get made fun of a lot. They're like, you're a femme, you all this great stuff. And I'm like, I'm just doing me. I'm happy with doing makeup one time, wearing eyelashes, letting my wife put makeup on me. But then again, this is who I am.
yeah, and just the idea again that just like there's no one way to look as a man or a woman, there's no one way to look as non-binary. And
No, not
I
at all.
think this might come to another one of our important questions about there's such an increased acceptance of people not even wanting to pass or to have these decidedly non-binary or androgynous sort of presentations. And I think maybe that has a lot to do with the backlash we're getting. There's so much, you can't ignore us anymore, and that's kind of what's happening. And so maybe that's a good way to talk about that backlash and against people who kind of cross that line, and maybe don't pass. I hate the word, but it's the word that is commonly used.
Yeah.
So if you had to say something to maybe people on the other side who would have a question, maybe like, well, why do you have to look that way? Can't you just try to be more feminine, as a trans woman, or more masculine, and just kind of fit in that way? What would you say to somebody on that side of the aisle?
I've had some people ask me and question me about it. And all I could tell them is that technically high heels were meant for men, and blue was for women, and pink was for men back in the day. It's just social, quote unquote, social norms that we grow up and they tell us this is how it is, but it's not necessarily how it's supposed to be.
Right. I mean, all this is just kind of made up anyway.
Yeah.
We invented clothes, and we invented all these things. But
Do what you want to do,
right,
be who you want to be.
yeah, and it's such a simple concept, and I think we all get bogged down in sometimes the academic side of it, or the discourse, or any of these arguments that people try to have. And I think people seeing our humanity and seeing that we're kind of the same, even though we're not,
Yeah.
is a huge part of it. So what would you say to try to convince like someone, let's say, of your outside of we're performers? Let me try to make that question a little bit easier to handle. Like, let's say somebody says that all of this is performative, like we're doing pageants, we're doing this, and I don't think people realize that we are still human beings. So how would you describe a typical day in your life to show people that you are just like everybody else?
There's a lot of people here that uh, may not know me and know what I do and my advocacy, and they say that I pass. So I don't know. I just go out there and I'm who I am. I just represent who I am. And when people ask me questions, it's not too bad. I answer them.
No, I got you. So, like, on a similar kind of note, so what we talk about all these heavy things and all the advocacy you do and everything that we kind of do in the community. But what do you do to relax? What do you do to have fun outside of performing or anything?
Mainly, I think about performing a lot. That's like I love doing it. I've been doing it for years. But other than that, I do like to go to the shooting range. I haven't done it in a long time, but I do love doing that. I like spending time with my wife, watching movies, having date nights, going to my friend's house, having bonfires.
Bonfires. It's like a that West Virginia tradition. And I'm not. I haven't been to one in a while, but I'm definitely when you're
Bring the
having like
pepperoni rolls and let's go to a bonfire.
oh, I'm not like bonfire with the we'll get take some Bud Light down there now just to piss people off, right?
Yep.
And some deer meat.
Oh,
Just
yes.
something, yeah.
Love
Best
some deer to meat.
stuff, fresh from the morning. Just marinating all day.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting off top, but no, it's
Now
again
I'm going to have to go eat.
right. It's one of those things that no, we're real people and we have like these things that we enjoy. So yeah, we talked about like bonfires and deer meat. Like, what's your favorite meal? How about that?
Favorite meal? I tend to eat a lot of French fries. Like, it's not really a meal, but I eat French fries like almost every day.
It's like your comfort food, like your
Yeah.
go-to.
Yeah.
No, I definitely. I have trying to think what mine is, but I have so many different like favorites. That's the thing. I've like, oh God, well, I like sushi, but I also like my mom's pierogies. So like,
Well, I'm very picky. I don't eat a lot of stuff. So, like, fries is my go to. But
I'm kind of with you on that. I'm still kind of particular on a lot of stuff, but I've gotten to be so much less picky because Jackson likes to try a lot of new things. So
I,
makes
I'm
me
a
do
whole lot
it.
better than when I was little. I'll try new things, but I got a texture thing as well. So I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't do lettuce for that reason. It's
Oh my
just
God. Last night I went to go get a salad and they gave me like romaine lettuce or something. And I was like, I can't. I cannot.
not good. Yeah, no, it's certain textures. People don't understand though. The texture can ruin a perfectly great taste
Hmm.
too. So let's because I had this is another topic. We're kind of related in my brain because the texture thing for me is sort of the autism kind of thing, and I'm like I also have ADHD, and my brain was like, oh, ADHD question, here we go. So you're on the whole ride today with me. um,
Oh, totally fine.
yeah, see, you can keep it up with it. It's wonderful because you understand how crazy my brain works. So if I gave you $10,000 to start any kind of project, trans related or not, in the community, what would it be?
Actually, I want a LLC. I want to be able to use my knowledgement and what I learned in school to actually help the trans community or just anybody in particular that needs help. I'm a minister, so I can uh, do weddings if need be, especially to the LGBT community that has a hard time finding someone to marry them. Then I can also be a peer coach because I've went through addiction counseling. I know the counseling part. I am part of the LGBT, so I can relate with that.
No, I actually really like that. Just kind of having that service, like to be able to provide for everybody, and then maybe like we can circle back around because you had talked about your degrees in addiction counseling, like and pursuing these things. What would you say to somebody right now who's really struggling with addiction and is kind of afraid to ask for help?
If they're afraid to ask to help, ask someone to go with you if you need to. And if not, then you can do a bunch of research. You can have your friends do research with you and work with you on certain things. There's a lot of research out there that and resources that can help you do it by yourself.
So do you probably know this then? What are some of the resources in your like West Virginia area that people could go to, could reach out to?
I haven't been in that in a minute because I spent most of the past few years with criminal justice, but I do know at Bridge Valley they do have a Paradigm Pioneers, which is part of the addiction counseling degree, and they do AA meetings at the school, and they're open.
Well, that's good. And then people watching this, like who might have something that they want to go reach out to and get help with. That's just kind of wanted to make sure that that was available for them, and that they can
Yeah,
also.
Ashley Lewis is the one that usually organized that, and they give you resources for other AA meetings and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Like that, there's going to be that because, like we said, West Virginia does have a pretty strong need for addiction counselors, people who are, and just services in general. So I think that getting that
I
out
would
there is,
also ask them to. I know a lot of people don't like therapy, but if you go to therapy, they can also give you the resources, and they can give you coping mechanisms to help you to like rewire your brain and think about this.
that's, oh my God, it's such another really important topic. A lot of people are pretty anti-therapy lately, along with the anti-science and all the other things. But, what I kind of wanted to pick your brain on that. How do you respond to people when they say that they don't need therapy?
I tell them my life story. I basically just tell them my life story, which is crazy. I probably should make a book about it. Everybody tells me to make a book, but I've been in and out of the therapy, and I finally gave up on it. I was like, this ain't gonna work. It hasn't worked for years, and I just got diagnosed with BPD, and I've been doing a lot of research trying to do that. And then my therapist was like, I'm putting you in some therapy classes. It's CBT classes.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't going to work. This is ridiculous. Nothing has worked. It's not going to work. But I've been in it. I think I'm on my 5th week of it, and I've noticed a big change.
Yeah, that hits on such a really big important point. The right kind of therapy
Hmm.
for what you're going through, and just having a therapist that kind of knows where to direct you. Because I think the big thing is, like, people think that when you go to therapy, like, you should immediately, within a week or two, just see like some kind of improvement, and it's gonna be drastic. But people, it's a process, a lot of
Yeah, it is
times.
definitely a process. And not every therapist that you go to is going to connect with you. You're going to have to keep on trying to go to different therapy until you find someone that you can actually connect with.
Yeah, and yeah, unfortunately, that's just the truth of any human like interaction. You may not feel totally comfortable even sharing everything with a therapist, or after 2 or 3 sessions, you're not going to feel like, okay, I'm not really meshing with you, and I don't feel like this is going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so
And
that, yeah,
some people just don't they can't come out and talk to somebody about it, but if you work with them long enough, sometimes you will build that trust and be able to talk to them. It can take
yeah,
years, but it does happen.
yeah. And I just wanted to kind of ask those things too, because it's such an important part of being just a healthy human being. Just every once in, like, maybe I'll just go check in to make sure,
Yeah.
like an annual checkup kind of thing. So I think we're kind of closing in on the end here. So I have just one more kind of question, and it's the one I kind of ask at the end of every single one. We talk about all the projects we want to do, all the things we want to do for the community, because the pageant is solely based really on your ability to be a representative and advocate and the work you do for people. But the competition's a little bit different. So I always ask, what do you personally want to get out of the experience this year, come November?
I just want to learn more and see where everybody else comes from and what happens in their community. Because I know it's all different, and I just like having acknowledgement and seeing other people's lives and what they do and how they handle it.
Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Hi, I'm Avery Cochran. I am pleased to be nominated as your first ever Trans West Virginia 2023. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of people I could talk to. There weren't a lot of queer people here in West Virginia, let alone anybody that was trans. When I turned 16, I decided that I needed to talk to somebody about how I felt. So I told my best friend, I feel like a gay man trapped in a lesbian's body. Granted, she was very supportive and laughed about how I explained this. Unfortunately, I wasn't ready to come out to everybody else. It wasn't until I was in my mid-20s that I decided that I needed to be who I was meant to be. I could no longer hide behind the social norms. I started a GS club at one of our local colleges. Since then, I have been in contact with them still, helping them with community service. I have also reached over 50 people here in West Virginia and gave them the resources that they needed for their own journey. Once I heard about Trans USA, I was like, how have I not heard about this? This is the best thing ever. It's like the Hunger Games here in West Virginia. Nobody supports us. I decided to go for Mr. Trans USA to not only get resources for everybody here in West Virginia, but to gain a brotherhood of people that love and support one another, and hopefully bring that back to West Virginia.
Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.